Okay, let's see. No music. I didn't do anything different.
It's muted.
There you go.
Fresh out the oven, straight to the bank. Ben's Hager smelling like dank. Seats, somebody died on them. Kitty looking like somebody cried on it. Ooh, what you looking at? What you looking at? Body like cinnamon roll. Icing on the top, if you got it, let's go.
Well, hello, everyone. We are live.
Yes.
Y'all know what this week is. Money Moves with motherfucking pie. And we are talking about the art of dying well. Much needed conversation. I know somebody out there saying hallelujah. I'm ready. I am so ready. For the rest of y'all who scared, don't be scared. We're about to take the fear and the tenseness, and we're gonna make the conversation about death a little sexy right now. We're gonna dig a little
Okay.
deeper as to why we're not doing this. So like I told the ladies earlier, I am tired of this shit where people not talking about dying. We all know we're gonna die, god damn it. What are you doing? What are you
Right.
doing? You live and you die. So let's talk about the other side, okay? So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to my girl Sonya, the sensuous certified sexologist.
Yes. And so I am excited to be here. Excited to be awake because it's been a long day, and it's been rough. And but I'm always excited when it's time for Wednesday night and for grown ass women. So and of course I'm always excited when it's Pasta's show because we get to learn some juicy stuff about getting your finances in order. So I'm excited about this topic tonight because it is one that we've had some challenges with, that I've had some challenges with. And so being able to, say, okay, so, let's go ahead and face this head on and learn how to talk to our family members and everybody in between. Yeah, I'm ready for that. So
And I ain't gonna explain how this is a money move because y'all know why it's a money move.
you know why it's Money
You know
Movez.
exactly why it's a money move.
Yeah,
So we
because
ain't gonna play that game. So
lack of these conversations cause destruction to your financial game. Okay, so
right.
we all know that. And I'm excited because we have some heavy hitters in the room as usual. You know, me and Pastel know some dope people. So I am going to allow the ladies to introduce themselves and tell us about who they are. First, I'm going to start out with our newbie to the room, Ask Miss Emma. And Miss Emma, tell us a little bit about who you are and why we invited you about this conversation, ma'am, because
Well, yes, by trade, I'm a clinical psychologist. I have a doctor's degree in clinical psychology, a master's degree in social work, and a bachelor's degree in social work. And I've been in the mental health field now for like 30 years, 30
Wow.
plus. And the latter part of my career, I started dedicating myself to trauma. And coincidentally, you all are inviting me to this show, and death is a part of trauma. I don't know if people know, but the number one cause of death from the age of 1 through 46 is trauma. So
wow.
this is a very good topic. So thank you all for covering this.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Yeah. And thank you for the work that you do because, we are out here in these streets struggling with trauma and with, facing up to the pain of everyday life. So, so this is, your services are much needed. Thank you for doing the Lord's work. In addition, we have Miss Donna Marie, who has been on the show before countless times. So thank you for joining us again. And I'm excited just with what you're doing. And so tell us a little bit about who you are, ma'am, and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me back. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm Donna Marie. I'm a whole life death doula. I'm a yogi, and I help particularly middle-aged single women. I coach them to focus on their legacy and their end of life. I think so many times in life, we don't celebrate the milestones in our life. We don't take the time to be still and think about our end of life. And so I particularly work with women who are single, women who are divorced, widowed, etc., um, to just help them to focus on their end of life, focus on their legacy, and do their end of life planning.
Mm, I know that's right.
All right, Donna.
Yes, I know, right?
That's
I
home.
know.
That's home.
Actually, even as she was talking, I was like, okay, wait a minute. How can I get? I need to get on Donna's schedule because just the idea of having the conversation of the way that you said, even looking at my legacy, looking at what I've done, looking at your whole life, and being able to come to terms with what am I leaving behind. That
Yep.
that made me a little excited. You talking about posh? You talking about sexy? It just
It
made me
makes the
think.
conversation sexy. People
Yes,
happy when I say that. The death conversation
right.
about to be real sexy, y'all. So,
Yes,
one
yes.
thing I want to ask you, ladies, when was the first time you ever talked about your death?
My personal death, I'll tell you the first time I thought about my personal death is when my uncle died in his home. And uh, he died. We tried to resuscitate him. And for hours, he was there before someone took his body away from the home. So I got to sit with him. I felt his spirit hovering in the room with me. And all of the other family members in the house, they scattered. They didn't want to be around his body. I was very comfortable sitting with him, touching him, feeling his hair, touching his skin, talking to him. And that's the first time I one realized, and I didn't realize that at the time, but later realized that I'm not afraid to be around a corpse, a dead body, and that I'm not afraid of death. But the time I really, really started focusing on my death was during COVID. Not just my death, but all the
Mm,
deaths that were right in our face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the first time I thought about death was when my uncle died, and he died ill prepared. Like there was
Mm,
no money. So it was at a time when I was just starting to make money. And I remember that being my responsibility. And so I thought of it in terms of planning. I was like, that's not going to happen to me. So I'm either going to have an insurance policy or I'm going to have a rack of money in the bank. So pay for my own funeral. So that's when I first had my thought about the after in terms of me specifically.
right.
okay. Okay. For me, I know I've always thought about it. In New Orleans, we celebrate death, a lot. So it was always around. I remember walking through the cemetery as a young girl when I was in junior high. We actually walked and skipped through the cemetery. So that's always been a part of my life. And I've always thought about what I wanted. Like, oh, I don't want that, or oh, that's nice, those type of things. As I remember having those thoughts as a child, but as you all are talking, you first had the conversation when you were grown. So, how early should we have conversations about death?
Right. And
Well,
start actually introducing our children to it. Go
Yes.
ahead,
when they
Miss
start
Emma.
having questions,
Hmm.
that's when we need to provide answers, age appropriately, of course.
Right.
Age appropriately. I agree. I have a 4-year-old grandson. We've already had a conversation about death.
Mhm.
And what was amazing about that conversation is the questions he asked me. So
Hmm.
we had a picnic in the cemetery and we talked
Oh
about death.
wow.
And I explained some things to him. And one of the questions that struck me the most, he's like, he calls me Dee Dee. He's like, so Dee Dee, where did I come from?
Mm,
And so we talked about death, but he's closer to that place he came from than I am because he's 4 years old. But that question was so profound to me. He wanted to understand, how did I get here? Where did I come from? And we had a beautiful conversation about death and life.
Right.
Okay.
yeah, and that's awesome. And it's making me think based on what you're saying, Donna, the more we normalize these conversations, and certainly we know that it's going to be traumatic or we're going to experience loss and grief when anybody passes. But the idea of normalizing it, and that's it's like we've been running from the fact that this is a normal part of life.
Right. It's
Right.
it is a definite one. one of the only definites we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
You can play like you know what's gonna happen, but you definitely know that one is coming. Okay.
Yeah.
You
I
going
think
away
that
from here?
yeah, exactly. I think the part that's made it not be so much challenging for me is similar to Donna. I found that I not only when people in my life have been passing, they wanted me in their space, but in addition, I felt pretty comfortable and felt like I needed to comfort them. So not feeling necessarily traumatized by it either, and feeling like okay, I mean, it just feels normal.
Right. So so a lot of people we know a lot of people don't like to talk about death. They feel it's creepy, all of this stuff. But I want to go to the profession now, the trauma expert. What are some of the reasons that you find that people just avoid the topic completely?
Well, sometimes people literally lack the psychological resources to even deal with the death because if you have a dependent personality, when that person is absent, you don't even know how to like buy groceries, you don't know how to pay bills, you don't know. So all of a sudden you're losing someone and then you have day-to-day life to attend to. And so it can become so overwhelming that it becomes trauma and you start to have anxiety, extreme anxiety, to the point where all the things in your life get affected. Your relationships with your family, your relationships on your job, your relationship with your man, husband, be that boyfriend. So all around you, everything changing from one death. So it
Right.
especially if it's a child and a mother loses a child, that's the one that hits me in my gut on a regular, even after 30 years of doing this work.
That's a hard one. That's
Mm-hmm.
a hard one because we have these again we act like but we clearly don't. And that one is always a shocker. Personally, I have taken out just a little bit insurance on my kids just to make sure that their expenses are covered when if they pass. If not, then I'm good with my little $5 a month, on insurance. You can get insurance relatively cheap for your children. But I talk to mine about it regularly because I'm like, don't have nobody looking up my nose in the front of the church. I come down and haunt everybody.
You are not gonna be haunting people.
Coming down and I'm
You
fucking
haunting.
if anybody don't know, I don't want nobody looking at my face and y'all better dance. I'm putting it in YouTube, Facebook. At my death, I want people to have fun and dance.
Yes.
That is the so just putting it out there for me that creates joy to
Yes.
say I want people to dance. So it makes the conversation a lot lighter. You know.
Right.
What are some of the other things you all can share that eases the heaviness of the conversation?
To
I,
talk about it.
yeah, to talk about it. And that's one of my missions is to just normalize death conversation. It's much harder to deal with death if you never choose to face the fact that you are going to die one day. If you're never having the conversation, if you're never preparing, if you're never planning, never recognizing that every day you wake up, you're one day closer to death. So
Every day, every
every,
minute.
Oh.
yeah,
Right now, we done. No.
we are actually dying. We are dying,
Yeah,
right?
we right now at this
Yeah,
minute.
it's
Right.
acting.
Yeah.
And you talk, when we think about funerals, we don't want to deal with death in any way. We pretty up a face in the funeral, in the caskets. We dress the person up, we do their hair, and we make them look alive. We don't
Mm,
want to accept it all the way to the very end. We deny that. When we're in the hospital,
Mm.
we want the medication, we want the treatment, we want to continue to live. We are never ever accepting
Mm.
that we're going to die. And we're not enjoying, and not enjoying is the wrong word, but we're not experiencing the wisdom and the beauty and the honor in death because we're fighting to live. We lose an experience.
Mm. I know
mm.
that's right. You better be preaching here on a Wednesday night.
Bible study.
Yes.
Well, one thing I find fun when talking about that is And I've been like jotting stuff down, but I get excited to remember the things that I've done because I've
Mm.
experienced a couple of times trying to write an obituary for a family member, and I ain't know shit about them. And then somebody come along and be like, "Girl, did you know such and such was this?" What?
Right.
And what? So just to reflect on who you were, who you've been, who you've impacted, who you come
Mm.
across, where you've been,
Girl.
what you've done. Isn't that fun?
Yes.
It's fun.
Really to take the time to celebrate who you've been in the world up to this point. So
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to think about, what would what's my program gonna say?
Yeah.
Y'all the flag twirl at McDonald 35. I sure was co-captain, you know.
Mm.
Or, I did a podcast. I did grown ass women shit. Y'all know Paz was up there talking shit. Y'all go on YouTube and find her. She like to kick her leg up. I wanted to say something that really speaks to who I am because when you leave here, people a lot of times have to figure that out.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like you find you don't even know your parents.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I had to do a whole lot of research trying to find out all of my father's information and still know that I didn't get everything. It was like okay, I think I remember he worked here about this time. Or I think he went to school here, but I don't really know. And then asking his sisters and brothers, they were like, yeah, I don't remember that. I mean, it's just kind of like there
Yeah.
was no way to really pull together the history.
Yeah.
But even as you were talking, Don, I was getting excited at the idea for myself of like confronting my own, mortality and like Pa said, celebrating who I've been. It feels like the thought of it made me think it was almost like it's going to take the taking the fear out of it
Yeah.
means that now I can deal with the fact that it's going to happen. It's almost like facing, like they say, putting your head in the lion's mouth. It's like, let me go ahead and face this head first. Like this is going to happen.
And not only that, Sonia, when we don't take the time to really take inventory of our life, we don't, or to consider our death. When we are focusing on our death and our legacy, how do we want to be remembered, or what do we want to leave in the world when we're gone? When we take the time and we sit and we really think about that, we got to consider whether we're living the life we want to lead,
Mm,
you know?
that too.
If you got unforgiveness happening, if you're not having
Mm,
conversations with your family members,
girl.
if you're working so much or you're doing whatever, if you're not taking the time to build those relationships and leave words that turn into your legacy by having those
Mm,
quality conversations right now, even, you might have some jewelry you want to leave. Don't wait till you die. Do it now. Whatever it is, take that inventory of your life, write that story, share the story, talk to people, tell them I'm past and I did this with these money moves. I helped these people, whatever it is. You got to create the legacy now or pay attention to the way you're living because when you're no longer here, other people will be writing your obituary. Other
mm,
people will be guessing at what it is you did or didn't do. But when you can have those quality conversations, when you can, like you said, pause, document, look at, take inventory of your life, look over and celebrate yourself. We don't take enough time to do that even, to celebrate
mm,
ourselves.
True.
Yeah.
And I
Agreed.
know for me, one of the things I need to do, I need to continue my mom's legacy and improve upon it.
Mhm.
Because I remember her all that she would say, you all are going to have nothing to do but to celebrate me. And it's going to be a home going. So that's exactly what we did. I remember my girlfriend saying to me, she was like, girl, y'all was having a party up in that church
Yeah.
because we celebrated her life. She had
Yeah.
done so much. So I decided, I said, you know what? During the pandemic, what I discovered was sometimes they wouldn't have the casket and they would do more of a memorial. So I know for me, I've shifted out of there's not going to be a casket, but you're going to have an audio tape from me.
Yes.
I
And
know that's right.
and
Nice.
I'm gonna say to people, the reason I don't have a casket, because y'all know I'm pretty, and y'all ain't gonna be up here crying, putting your mess all over my face.
Right.
Because you know when you make up people and you touch them, they get smudgy. So there's no casket. And
Right.
anybody
That's
out there,
right.
look, anybody out there doing the ugly cry, stop it.
Yeah.
So you just did it right here because this is on YouTube. So you refer them to grown ass women shit and say, check me out right here.
Yes, yes.
Over there, she got me down in history.
Yes, yes. You are archived, baby. You are archived.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a quick question. I was just thinking, based on what I've just heard, Miss Emma, is the idea of, because I was thinking some of the trauma that's inherent in death has to do with not being prepared.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be some of the ways that we actually handle, or like, I almost feel like death happens to us and we're not taking our power back. Like we're not being empowered around the fact that I'm not going to just let it happen to me. I'm going to choose and decide how this gets to go down.
Absolutely. I have to ask that question when I do intake. Do you have a final will, how you want to go? Most of the time it is no. Right. I ain't planning on dying no time soon. You don't have to plan. It's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but we don't. And it's a cultural thing, you all. So this type of platform, thank you, Sonia and Dr. Paz, for having this platform, because we have to get out here as African-American women and we got to talk about it. You know, we're the pillars of, this black thing going on here.
Right.
So we got to pick up that gauntlet and do just what you all are doing right now, inviting people to talk about it. We have to, because if we don't, we're going to perpetuate that cycle of, well, everybody's got to run together and get pennies together to bury Uncle Joe, Uncle Johnny, Uncle this.
Girl,
that's a hot mess.
Right at the time I was trying to buy a car. Shoot.
Right, the crowdfunding, the brief stealing.
Yeah.
It's too much. You have time now, and it only takes a little bit, a few steps. You can do basic stuff now to just ensure that your family members will be able to grieve. That's the part that bothers me, is the lack of planning steals grief, or it delays grief. We get so caught up in the minutia of trying to figure out how we gonna do this and what did they want, and no, you can't do this. My daddy wouldn't want that, but yes, he did. He told me if it was written down, or if they told you, then we could have some peace about it. It's that peace. So if for no other reason, think about your loved ones, who you're leaving behind, and how you can give them peace by just planning or communicating. What you want, what you want at the end of your life.
I want to add that the communications shouldn't happen one time. Like, we don't do our advance directive and tuck it away. It needs to be, some people say annually. Annually is not enough to me, but annually is the start, right? So have those conversations so that, and because your life changes, your wishes change, you evolve, you become somebody different. And so you need to continually have those conversations, because just like you don't want to think about death, the person you're talking to doesn't want to think about it. So they need to hear it more than once.
Yes.
Right.
Miss Emma, you were about to say something.
Well, I was wanting to piggyback with Dr. Paz, your piece about the money piece. Sometimes the trauma happens because of that, because your entire life gets shifted because, and no joke, you all, I tell people, if you don't have your stuff together, don't put my name on nothing. Because after walking through this with a lot of clients, it is very expensive, the legality part of it.
You better talk about the government.
Switching that stuff over, you becoming the power. After somebody's dead, no. Get a napkin. I, Miss Thelma, give all my rights to Emma Jean Norfleet. Because if you don't have that, you got to spend your money because you're emotionally connected to what that loved one has said to you prior to the death. And there's nothing like guilt when somebody's dead, y'all.
Yeah.
Yep.
It will make
and not only that. Oh, go ahead.
It'll just make you go broke.
Right. You will go broke. You can go broke trying to carry out somebody else's wishes. We talked about that. So, and that's the other thing. Some people do talk about what they want, but they ain't playing for shit.
Right.
So you want a horse-drawn carriage with a second line band, and you got $5 in the bank. Get the fuck out of here. And then we gonna dust you over in the Mississippi River.
Well,
I mean, that's what if it matters to you, how your final plan. If your final plans matter to you, then you should prepare yourself for that.
You're right.
So
You're
you should
absolutely
have
right.
insurance. That burial insurance ain't that much.
Yeah, tell the
You
people
know?
don't put your name on nothing now. Tell them don't put your name on nothing. It ain't cute. It ain't sexy. You're going to wind up with a bunch of debt and you still need chicken, and that person can't eat no chicken no more. So you need to and I'm in a situation right now, my girlfriend, her mom literally will not talk about it. And so I went right to boundaries then. Okay, set your own boundaries up. Tell her you're going to withdraw your name from checking account. You're going to take your name off of things because you're going to be left with a debt. It's a lot of stress on the person because you got to be running back and forth, and everybody knows the legal system is just very convoluted. They're going to make you fill out 10 forms before you get to the right one.
And they gonna get a cut.
10 forms and take your money. Yeah, and
they gonna get a big cut. Now you work hard all your life and you gonna let the government take no.
Right.
So the goal is to keep your shit out of probate or succession. That's what we call it in Louisiana. But probate or succession.
Yes.
You want to shield whatever you can. Even dumb shit like why you have a bank account with no beneficiary.
Right.
With nobody else on it. You know what I'm saying? The other thing that comes to mind is
just giving money away.
Just giving money away. Give somebody a key to your damn house. And give it's just little things you can do. I know everybody thinks about, preparing a will and a trust, because that's the big, legacy planning. But a lot of the steps don't even have to be that deep.
Right.
They don't have to be that deep. They're very simple. Like Donna mentioned the advance directive.
Yep.
Explain what that is, Donna.
So there's an advance directive and a living will. So an advance directive is really a document that you complete to help you designate someone to make decisions for you medically if you're incapacitated and can't make those decisions for yourself. So if you're in the hospital, and you can't talk, the person you designate will speak on your behalf. So one, you got to have the conversation with the person before you get to the point where you're incapacitated so that person knows how to be a good advocate for you.
Yes.
Secondly, so if you don't want a breathing tube, if you don't want a feeding tube, rather, if you don't want CPR, if you don't want to be resuscitated for any reason, then you need to communicate that with your healthcare proxy or the person you designate to make those decisions for you. And that's what an advance directive does. If you're in the hospital and a doctor has to make a decision for you, doctors are moving quickly. They don't necessarily attach what they're doing to a person. It's a job, it's a process, and we're going along with this process. So you need someone who cares about you to be there to advocate for you.
And let me interject right. I just want to add, don't think that person has to be your spouse, your mate, or anybody else. You pick who the hell you want, who you believe is really gonna carry out your wishes. Who's gonna be, like Donna said, a good advocate. It does not have to be your son. To hell with people who think, well, I should know what it's about what you want.
Right.
I want this first. So go ahead, Donna. I just wanted to say that.
It's important to consider have more than one person, right?
Yes.
It's important to have at least one person and a second person so they can you never know how you're going to respond until you're in a position. So you might choose someone you think is level-headed and can make choices for you, but in the moment, that level-headed person might not be so level-headed. That level-headed person might become extremely emotional and don't want the responsibility of making decisions for you. So you have a backup and they can support one another if they're near one another, or you have a backup just in case one isn't available. You have someone else, but you have the communication with both of them. They both know what your desires are. And again, that could change. Prior to COVID, maybe I didn't want to be intubated. After COVID, it's like, okay, maybe this is something I would want. And so you got to have those conversations regularly, because as you get older, you might think, I don't want a feeding tube or I don't want this. But as you get older, you just want to live. And so a feeding tube might be something you want. So again, conversations need to be recurring, and the healthcare proxy might change. Something might happen and you need to designate someone else. And so that's also very important.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the living will. That is your
Yeah.
second line. So
Yeah.
yeah. So can you explain the living will really briefly?
Well, I have something written here and I just want to read it really quickly because I want to say this the way I want to say this. And so give me 1 second here.
Sure.
So basically, she's finding what she needs to find, but your living will is you speaking for yourself.
Right. It lays out your wishes, basically. It lays out
Your
all of
voice.
your wishes.
Yes.
And I have a booklet right here. It's an advanced directive. And when I say your wishes, this is something so simple. If I'm sick and I can't take care of myself and I can't speak for myself, I don't like flannel sheets. I don't want flannel sheets touching my skin. I don't want them on my bed. I don't like them now. Something that simple. If you have someone taking care of you, again, it lays out your wishes and it goes into lots of detail. If I don't like Glade plugins, I want some essential oils burning. If I am incapacitated and at home, this I don't want a Glade plug. I don't want to inhale the toxins. I want some essential oils. I want some aromatherapy. A living will lays out any desire you might have as far as the way you want to live, the way you want to be treated. I don't particularly care to eat meat, so I need to lay that out for someone who's potentially taking care of me. So that's basically what a living will is. And so again, I'm gonna read it. It lays out your wishes for your medical treatment, that your healthcare agent or your healthcare proxy should follow. And again, it's very, very detailed. It doesn't have to be that detailed. Maybe you don't care if you have flannel sheets. I care. So again, it just lays out your wishes, whatever those wishes are.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, that's so important because I think, and of course, we know that you're surrounded by people that have their own opinion about the world. And just because, like you said, just because that's your spouse or your kids or your family member, your sister, that doesn't mean they see life the same way. And so, yes, you're gonna eat this meat, goddamn it, because
Right.
what they're gonna do is give you what they want you to have, and not
Right.
necessarily what you want to have, unless you're very explicit about it. And sometimes, like you said, Donna, having it being said to more than one person, I would think almost in front of each other, so that we all realize this is what I said. Don't y'all get amnesia and act like I ain't say don't feed me no meat.
Right.
Don't play
Or
with
even
me.
food allergies. I have food allergies. I can't have certain types of food. Whatever it is, you need to lay that out for your healthcare proxy, the person who you're in your living will. You need to lay those details out. And I just don't want to talk too much, but I have this advanced directive in front of me, and they're little things. Your comfort and care, how you want your body, if you like massage therapy, or if whatever it is, your dependent care is even in here. Information about your documents, all kinds of information goes in your living will. And so it could be very detailed and exhaustive, or it could be very short based on the individual.
So let's talk about the other side. Once you pass, what types of things do you help folks with, Miss Emma?
Once they've passed, usually if they're stuck in the grief process, there's 5 stages: the DABDA, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. And so that grill, it bounces back and forth. It doesn't just go successionally like it should. Sometimes you may be in the denial, you know what I'm saying? And then you can move on somewhere, and then you get to anger, then you may bump back up to denial. So death and grieving it has been redefined over the last 2 decades. It's not like people don't tell you anymore beyond 6 months you should be finished with your grieving. Right. Well, you grieve how you
used to say that, Miss Emma.
Girl, yeah, they got it in the DSM-4, the DSM-3 and 4.
Really?
Beyond 6 months, we're talking pathology. Shut up. You ain't gonna tell me I can't grieve my mama for 2 years.
Right.
As long as and for me, I try to normalize the grieving process in the sense of if you're grieving and it's not getting in the way of your job, but if you're just missing someone, then that's part of your grief. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're not doing anything that's going to impact anybody in a negative way, but sometimes it takes that transition time to mourn that loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is those mothers. That's when I found a difference in the grief process. It's different when, like, I lost my mom. My grief was different than when I watched my mom lose my brother. Like, I literally saw her age 10 years in like a matter of 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's different. It falls differently when the mother buries the child. And the grieving is different. I'm sure you know, Donna, you see that too. It's different. And I was like, okay, I can't just across the board treat people the same way in grief.
Right.
It matters who's dying, who's burying the
does.
person. All of that ties into it. So it's almost like a individualistic plan that I have to do when people come to me with their trauma about death.
Yeah. And like you said, it matters how much you are dependent or attached to that your lifestyle is dependent upon them being alive. Yeah. Because I mean, I had no idea after my husband passed that I'm like, okay, I had no idea it's going to take you 7 years to get your act together. like really, I'm just now saying, okay, you know what? I think I can do this. I think, you know, but it just was so much like, yeah, I'm good. I'm no longer interested. Yeah, no longer interested. Yeah, I had a clock out, and I'm gonna go ahead and clock out. I'm good.
Yeah, and I think that it happens also, you know, when for me it was a loss of one of my best friends in 2007. I'm just getting into counseling. I mean, I tried counseling over the years, but this past year I really committed to the counseling. So dealing with that grief, I really haven't taken the time to look at, well, maybe it did affect me to want to, you know, get stuff in order. I haven't even thought about that, but the grief was I was traumatized.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't celebrate my own birthday, you know, so I felt guilty for still being here.
Yes.
So yeah, death can cause a whole plethora of issues for the folks that are left here, financially, mentally, spiritually, all of those things. That's why it's so important to die well.
Yes.
Die well if you can.
Yes.
Even if she, you know, with her, she was 33 when she was murdered. You know, if she, you know, even if that part, you know, the will and all that stuff, it lessens some of the blow. So whatever we can do now to lessen that aftermath is just so important.
Yeah.
So,
and what I found, you all, is that sometimes when there's no plans made by the person that's leaving us, that becomes like the new identifier in the person that's left here, their life. So then once that's all over, like the 2 or 3 weeks that it takes to get the money together, to get the funeral and to do all of that stuff, and then they don't know what to do. Because then they're faced with the loved one is gone and they're never coming back.
Right.
Sometimes it leads to drug abuse. Sometimes it leads to medication, you know, overly medicating yourself with your Xanax and your barbiturates and all of that stuff. It like you said earlier, Dr. Paz, it can just go through your entire life messing up things. You won't be able to live your blessed life because you're so busy trying to deny that pain that you throw yourself into other things. And next thing you know, you just made a situation bad worse.
Right. I had a recent experience. A young lady lost her mother in March. She was my friend, associate / friend. And then she recently died in, I think it was August or September 2nd. And when she died, I don't know the details of her death, but I know she was in probate. Her mom was a single parent, had a son. When this woman died, she died in her mother's house, in her mother's wheelchair, alone, nobody around. And you talk about trauma. Trauma, like you said, will kill you. Stress is the trauma that kills
Stress,
you,
yes.
right? And so the role of a death doula is I don't feel guilty, but I wish I had known what she was going through,
Mhm.
because you need help sorting through all of that, especially if you're going through life fast all the time and never taking the time to take care of yourself, to think about what you're thinking, to feel what you're feeling. You're just going through life. Anything could be a distraction. It doesn't have to be your Xanax or your whatever, your alcohol. It could be vacationing. It could be spending money that you really don't have, whatever it is. And you know when you're avoiding. And so nobody has to tell you what you're what you know you should be doing. We all know, but sometimes we need the support, we need the help. And it's very hard to sort through that when you're grieving. It really, really is hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 And
Wow.
since one of the stages of DABDA is depression, so
Yeah,
sometimes when they reach that stage, you all, they get stuck there. And then you got to deal with, the chemical imbalance that the person has at
yeah,
that point. You literally got to get in there and get some medication. It's like lots of people in our culture, we don't like to take medication.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I'm very frank with my clients about, I can't make you do anything, but in your heart of heart, you're pre and post where you are right now.
yeah,
If you're not operating at your optimal level, I shouldn't have to tell you to see a psychiatrist,
Mm.
because therapy alone may not do it. And so my role as the clinician then is to let you know when we're not making the kind of progress that we should be able to. And I think if you would check with a psychiatrist, but that's all I can do is make a recommendation. But sometimes, a lot of life has to happen before people are willing to do the both, which is what the research says is best. The dual
Right.
treatment, medication and therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the damage, you got to see it actually taking place for you, like before you want to acknowledge that, okay,
Yes.
this might be running amok right now.
Yeah. And I
Right.
just stay supportive of them until they get there. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times we're not ready, you all. We lack the psychological resources, and that could stem back from things that you went through in your past. Previous relationships, interactions manifest in present day. So when a vertical stressor happens like death, it throws you off your game.
yeah,
Mm.
And so we got a whole, like, I love that word, plethora of things we got to deal with.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And it snowballs quickly.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Snowballs quickly.
yeah.
So let's move into the money piece of this.
Mm.
And what are some of the documents that we all should have, or what are some of the things we should do to prepare for a well a good death? That sounds crazy, but it is a good death.
Right.
One easy thing you alluded to earlier, Paz, is your bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
You can go into the bank, and you don't have to have any legal forms, just the person's social security number, and you can list that person on your account. It's called payable on death.
Mhm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
you list that person, and then when you die, that person can go in with your death certificate and deduct or withdraw the money from your account.
Right.
You That's something simple you can do. Doesn't require an attorney or anything else. That's something very simple. That's just one
Yep.
example
Yep.
with money.
Uh, what you should also check your investment account if you have investment accounts.
Yes.
Make sure
Beneficiaries,
you
yeah,
have a the appropriate beneficiary,
yes,
because I spoke about this a while ago, but years ago I was going through my paperwork, and I found that my ex-husband was still on some of my documents.
Oh, girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm. I'm
My
gonna
son would have came down and haunted everybody.
body, Dr. Paul.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What the hell?
She would have came down and haunted everybody.
Hell no. So just everybody's saying, "Oh, I have that, I have that," but you may have had, like Donna said, you have to review this stuff regularly to make sure it is matching what you want.
Mhm.
And I know my ex husband on my insurance was not what I wanted, so I had to slap myself. Like, what are you doing? You know, so that had to change. The other thing, something simple is give somebody, you know, we all use this thing, this wonderful thing right here. And they our passwords are in it. You know, make sure you put your password somewhere and someone knows how to get access to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if it's in a lockbox, this thing has so much info. The phone alone is a passport to most of us our whole
Right.
life, you know. And
Yeah.
I don't think people think about, I ain't giving nobody my password. Give somebody the password, or house your password to your phone and your computer somewhere
Mhm.
where people can get to you, because we're living in an age of electronic documents too. So even your insurance paperwork may be electronic and may need a password. So that's something to think about. Um, Make sure you tell people about your bills, your debts.
Yeah.
It is important. Everybody, that's mine. Oh, no, it's gonna be somebody. It's gonna be your churns,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be stealing from your churn if you have children or whoever you want to designate as, you know, as your beneficiary. I want to deal with that shit. Tell people what's going on.
Yeah. Cause
And
can I throw one thing in?
absolutely, I want y'all to.
You mentioned insurance.
Mhm.
If you can afford it, insurance is not just for burial purposes
Right.
or funeral purposes. Get enough insurance to cover your debt. Get enough
Yes.
insurance to cover your mortgage. Get enough insurance to leave something for your family. Don't
Mhm.
get a $10,000 policy. Do not, unless you have an additional policy. But if all you can pay for is a $10,000 policy, I understand that. But if you have the means to get insurance, enough insurance to cover, again, all of your debt, especially if you have children or if you
Mhm.
have a parent you're taking care of or anyone else, make sure your insurance policies are enough to help that person, your spouse, whoever.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Or don't put my name on nothing.
Miss Cookie, don't put my name on shit unless you got your
You don't want
shit
to. You don't
together.
want to be
Dr. Paz, hit
responsible.
him with that one again. Don't put my name on.
Shit.
And I hope all my family members is listening.
Yeah. And another thing people don't think about are documents like divorce papers. If you're in a domestic partnership, you
Mm.
want documentation of that,
Hmm.
because I'm telling you, every state has an algorithm they use. If this person's unavailable, we go to this person. Doom, 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 doom.
Right.
And your ass, your loved one who you supposed, who you supposed to be leaving at, they may not get anything.
Right.
Yeah, not a
Adoption
dime.
papers, those type of things, they need to be housed. We have a beautiful story. And I was telling Don, I forgot to give it a number to come on here, but our friend recently lost her mother, and she has been raving about the support that Donna gave her mother at the end of life. Donna, you want to talk about that briefly?
Yes. So I met with Miss Mary. I don't even know how the conversation started, but she mentioned to me that she wanted to plan her end of life. She wanted to leave. She wanted to take care of her family. She didn't want them to worry about her. Um,
Mhm.
and so we had a conversation. She shared some information with me. I explained the importance of getting her documents together because you need to know where those insurance papers are. You need to know those policy numbers, et cetera, to be supportive of your family when you die. And so I wrote everything down. And then I got to a point where I'm like, your family needs to be a part of this conversation. You and I can't just talk about this. We need to pull everybody in because she was making certain decisions that would impact everybody. Um,
Mhm.
so we pulled the entire family in, and they managed her end of, they did a will, they did everything that she needed. And when I say a will, I mean a power of attorney. They did all of those legal documents as well as the advance directives and the living wills to make sure that she was taken care of and that it went the way she wanted it to go. And we had that conversation, and I actually have the notebook. I'm not going to pull it up, but we had that conversation, and it wasn't long after that conversation that she actually passed away, and nobody expected that to happen, her to pass away. It wasn't expected. And so it's really, I think it's beautiful because it was a timely conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm positive her celebration of life was absolutely beautiful.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And we have to, my dad is gonna be 80 this year. And when I tell you I've been pushing him for the past 10 years to get his shit together. And he thanked me the other day. I felt so touched. He was like, "Thank you for sticking with me on this." I
Oh.
was like, "Man, you almost 80 years old. Let's come on.
We
What
feel
what
that.
what you doing?"
Right.
Like I was like, I always say I'm not fighting my siblings. They can have it. I said, because everybody seems to want me to be the one to handle the estate. And like Miss Emma said, don't put my name on shit.
I second, I
You,
declare and decree. I agree with Dr. Pause.
you have this shit right and have it where Haas is doing this. You are doing this. This is who gets what.
Yes.
I don't want no parts of it. I'm fine.
Because I got the
I got my trust together for my kids. They gonna we good.
Yep.
I don't want that headache. I don't want that headache.
It's
And
expensive.
it,
It's
it is.
expensive.
And it's lengthy. It can be
Yeah,
lengthy.
it's stressful.
Yeah.
Years.
And stressful.
Yeah,
Anything that take years gonna be goddamn stressful. You trying to figure out this. We still have a house in New Orleans. We trying to, it's just like, come on, have the conversation, y'all. It's okay.
Yeah. Because isn't that something that you would pass, but then the stress of your passing is going well into years after you're gone. Like
Yeah.
you're gone and your effect is lasting, but not in a good way. This is in a devastating, monumental, like you causing me stress way. Like this is a headache.
Do you want to die a boss or a bitch?
Oh, she did not. Well, there you have it.
Should I end it right there?
Yeah, there you go. You need a mic drop. Mic drop.
Wait a minute, I'm dropping everything.
Boss up. It's your last time to be the boss. Seriously, though. I'm not saying anybody who hasn't started. But seriously, you get to be this your last time to be the boss.
yeah.
Yeah.
Be the boss. Tell them what you want. And you
Yeah.
sitting up there, you ain't got to come back and haunt nobody.
Right.
Yeah. And I just want to.
I did it my way, Frank Sinatra style.
Right, exactly. And I just want to say, I mean, just in terms of actually doing that, we are now changing course because this historically our culture just does not handle death well. So this is where we're learning to create a whole new conversation around death. We're changing what we've been up to. And I mean, because if you look at it from the top down, we have celebrities that ain't ready to deal with this shit.
Right.
So clearly it's a hard conversation. However, we get to put on our big girl panties and we get to handle that and start changing the course of where things are going so that, at some point generations down the line, this doesn't look like this. It's not this level of horror every time somebody passes away.
Right.
Quick sidebar, kind of a sidebar. But you all remember the story about the death celebration in the club that they had?
Yes. Oh, you didn't see that, Miss Emma? Yes.
So this happened in DC, and the young man was a hip hop artist in DC, and his family, his mother and his sisters, they knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted to go out in a party, so they rented out a club here in DC, propped his ass up on stage with
Fully
his shirt
clothed.
in the club.
Right. Playing all his favorite hits.
All his hits, and everybody like, hey, all around the body. Right. And people were appalled. But then I watched, I don't know if you said that to me, Sonya, but I watched.
Yeah, I think I said that to you.
Yes, well, it was something really that we should celebrate. He did it his way.
Yes.
And they felt no shame. They said, look, y'all can talk about us all y'all want. We know what he wanted, so y'all can go to hell and kiss our black asses.
Yeah.
Because nobody was talking about the the white dude who was buried in his on his motorcycle propped up.
Oh wow.
You know, it happens. It happens. They call those people quirky and eccentric and that. But we like, oh my god! I know when I saw it, I was like, what the hell is going on? Is he dead?
Girl, standing up, propped up.
Standing up, propped
Yeah.
up.
But it was awesome because she the woman who was doing the video did a interview with a local person. I forget what her position was, but she was just like,
yes,
we are actually naming what we want. Like this is almost like, again, taking back the power from death and taking and acting like I have to do it the way somebody else wants, but instead being able to say, yeah, this is what we want. As for our family, what would help us grieve is having a party and celebrating him.
Yeah.
So why not do what it is that you want? I mean, they didn't do a GoFundMe. Now, if they did a GoFundMe to do that party, it'd have been something different. But they actually, hey, this is what we want, and we're gonna pay for it. What's the shame in that?
Yep.
That's all a part of normalizing it. Like,
yeah,
normalize. That's what we do. Normalize conversations on here. So we are coming to the end of another Money Moves with Paz. I have enjoyed you guys thoroughly. Thank you so much.
Ladies.
Right back at you.
Share this video with your grown ass friends who don't want to say shit about their death. Y'all better go to YouTube. Y'all can share it from the page. Share it from YouTube. Send somebody this conversation because we all know someone who's like, ooh, I don't want to talk about that. Make talking about death sexy. Make it fun. Talk about who you were. Talk about who you want to be. Your plans, what you're working on. Have the conversation.
Right.
Have the conversation. Get somebody like Donna, the death dude. I'm about to become a death dude. I'm inspired. Shit.
Yeah.
I'll be the ghetto death dude. What you doing?
You need him in the ghetto the most.
Not the ghetto.
So thank you, Miss Emma. Thank you, Donna Marie.
Yeah.
Many blessings. This was awesome. Sonya, you want to tell me we got coming up next week?
Yes. So I just want to remind you guys, we go live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern for No Bra Wednesday, where we let the girls loose and we say it with our breasts. I didn't say that earlier. That's what was missing. We skipped all over that. We're trying to get straight to this death conversation. But yeah, so when we let our girls loose. And so next Wednesday, we are excited to have the fellas back in the room. So as you know, we generally have the men, the folk. And so this is our first Ask Your Daddy for the fall. So we do have the men that will be joining us. So October the 5th at 8 p.m., tune in. We are going to be talking to the men about everything that we've talked about the last 2 weeks, so that they've not been in the room for these conversations. So now we get to get their get their interpretation. Get what they have to say. So so make sure you tune in for that.
You know what it's gonna turn into. We get through the topics and then we start talking about some other shit. Yeah. So y'all better be ready. It's always juicy. Always juicy.
Yes. So and thank you again, ladies. And those of you who are dealing with trauma, please reach out to Miss Emma. This is a really soft place to land, and a professional that understands. In addition to being a soft place to land, somebody that actually has the expertise to help you through your process. So we really get to take our lives back so that you can go back and get back to living. So.
Yes, Miss Emma is the bomb. I talked to her for 5 minutes. I said, "Oh shit, you ready?"
Right.
We good.
Right. Yeah. The pastor doubted me for a second. She's like, I don't know this person. I need to talk to her. I don't know who this is. I said, I'm like, but she's good, but I don't know her. I gotta talk to her. I was like, okay, I get it. It's your segment. You do get to talk to her. Yes.
Who the hell, Miss Emma?
Mom is my new best friend.
Right.
Telling these people what I've been wanting to say all along. Don't put my name on.
No, oh shit. Yes. Don't
That's
put
the take home. I'm about to put that in the comments. Don't put my name on
shit. No. Yeah.
Because they think jam us up like that, y'all.
Yes. Yeah. Stop jamming up your loved ones. Send them this video. Tell them to watch it and then say, and I'd like to have a conversation afterwards. Use this as a conversation starter. So you can start having the conversation.
And Sonia, I'm gonna say, and pay special attention to Dr. Paz.
Yeah, right, exactly.
She is saying what I'm trying not to say no more.
I'm giving you the closed caption.
Exactly.
Listen to my new best friend.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you all.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in. Again, share the video. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Y'all can hit us up in the messenger. Anything. We are here. Join the group. Love y'all. Thank you.
Love you.
Fresh out the oven, straight to the bank. Been paid, smelling like bank. Seats, somebody died on them. Kitty looking like somebody cried on it. Ooh, what you looking at? What you looking at? Body like in the mirror. Icing on the top, if you got it, let's go.